Torn between the love Torn between the love he had discovered and the love he had found in Ava, Blink felt his heart split in two. The desire to uncover the truth clashed with the fear of what it might mean for their future together. The room spun around him, a whirlwind of emotions threatening to consume him. In that moment, Blink made a choice. He folded the letter carefully and placed it back into the envelope. With a determined gaze, he locked eyes with Ava, his voice filled with conviction. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that our love is real. We'll face this challenge together, hand in hand. Ava's eyes sparkled with admiration and love, her heart swelling with pride for the man standing before her. She knew that they would face many obstacles in their journey, but they had proven time and again that their love could withstand anything. Ow. Managed to not hit my head on the desk that time. Good job, me. Lidocaine is my best friend sometimes. Oh, but it's cold. Oh, it's cold. Okay. Okay, sorry. My shoulders and back have decided that they are going to be rude. So, we get to modify. Okay, it needs to be more that way because the pop filter. There we go. Alright. That's better. But they had proven time and again that their love could withstand anything. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, Blink and Ava clung to each other, ready to confront the hidden secrets that threatened to tear them apart. The journey ahead might be daunting, but their love burned bright, illuminating the path that lay before them. And so, they faced the unknown, united and unyielding, ready to unravel the mystery that had emerged from the depths of the past. And a rose. That was the end of chapter 40. Chapter 41. The town buzzed with excitement as the annual festival approached. Blink and Ava were caught up in the anticipation, cherishing their time together before the grand event. Little did... Apologies, I see notifications. My bill is available for the electric. Ah, that could have waited. I don't know why that was a text. Okay. A grand event. Little did they know that Lucas, Ava's persistent ex-lover, was plotting his grand gesture to win her back. Okay, whatever. On the day of the festival, the town square was transformed into a magical wonderland. Colorful decorations adorned every corner, and the aroma of delectable treats filled the air. Blink and Ava strolled hand in hand, their love radiating with every step. As they wandered through the crowd, Blink's heart quickened. He caught sight of Lucas, a determined glint in his eyes. Ava tensed beside him, sensing the tension in the air. She squeezed Blink's hand, reassuring him of her love and loyalty. Suddenly, the music swelled, and the crowd gathered in anticipation. Did he just give this scene theme music? He gave this scene theme music, guys. The crowd gathered in anticipation. Okay, seriously, they have music. All right. Lucas stepped forward, his voice booming through the square as he declared his undying love for Ava. Blink's heart sank, his worst fears unfolding before him. But Blink was not one to be defeated. Hello, thank you for joining. Much appreciated. Please be sure to do the tippy tappies that help spread the laugh to more peoples. Any peoples? Someone? Unfolding before him. Unfolding before him. Where is it? Where's that line? There it is. But Blink was not one to be defeated. He took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage within him. With a flash of determination, he stepped forward, his voice firm and unwavering. Did I just stumble over that? Unwavering. Unwavering. Yeah. Unwavering. Forward. His voice firm and unwavering. Ava. Ooh, that was bad, don't you know? I cannot do his voice from the sitting down or the slouching position. I cannot. All right. Let's do that one again. Ava, he spoke, his words echoing through the square. I may have been a hedonist, lost in my own desires, but you've changed me. Sorry, I got a weird thing going on in my throat. Almost. Oh, come on. Get out of. Cooperate, throat. Do the thing that you're supposed to be doing. Your job is to talk, not to croak. Come on. Okay. That's better. All right. But you've changed me. You've shown me the beauty of love, and I'm ready to fight for us. The crowd fell silent, their eyes shifting between the two men. Polyamory. All love triangles would be complete if polyamory was just normalized. If you love them both, love them both. Okay, sorry. I got a little bit ranty there for a second. But this whole book is so much toxic monogamy. Their eyes shifting between the two men. Ava's eyes glistened with tears as she reached out. To Blink, her heart bursting with love. Blink, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Together, we can face anything. I choose you, now and forever. Excuse me, apologies. Hello, thank you for joining, Hixie. Love you. now and forever. As their lips met in a passionate kiss, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Lucas's grand gesture had been overshadowed by a love so genuine and unbreakable that it could not be undermined. With the strength of their love, Blink and Ava emerged victorious. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Huh? What's skipping? Me? I have them on separate things and I don't know. Hello, Doug. I don't know. And weeks into months. Link and Ava's love grew deeper with every passing moment. Their journey had taken them through trials and revelations on a quaint village where time seemed to have stood still. Curiosity guided their steps as they delved into the village's history, unearthing a love story from the past that mirrored their own. With each discovery, they uncovered pieces of their destiny, the echoes of two souls who had loved fiercely. The echoes of two souls who had lived fiercely across the ages resonated within them. Blink and Ava realized that their love was not merely a coincidence, but a force that had transcended time. In that idyllic village, surrounded by the beauty of the past and the hope of the future. How much did I just mess that up with mouth noises? Yeah. The echo in that idyllic village. That entire thing needs to go. In that idyllic village, surrounded by the beauty of the past and the hope of the future, Blink and Ava made a choice. They chose to embrace the legacy of love, to honor the sacrifices made by those who came before them. Oh, thank you for the donuts. I love you. I appreciate you. You always give me all of your supports. Sacrifices made by those who came before them. And so they returned home, ready to face the challenges and joy that awaited them. As they walked hand in hand, their hearts full of gratitude, Blink and Ava knew that their love story would continue to unfold, creating a legacy of its own. For in the end, it was not just the story of a hedonist who found love, but a tale of two souls who defied the odds and discovered that love was indeed the greatest adventure of all. And that was the end of the book. Okay, so is this... What's that one? Okay, yeah, I've already recorded that bit. Yeah, that's the end. It's so weird. Like, if he would have stuck to like 1 to maybe 3 of the storylines instead of the like 30, it could have been a good book. Like, there were so many things that had so much potential. Save project. Okay. Let me see where I am at for Divinia. Let's see, did I finish chapter 20? Oh, really? If you need any help with, my brain stopped. Editing and or arc reading, I got you, boo. Or a voice actor, if things aren't too graphic. I'm not quite there yet. I'll get there eventually. However, all right, let's see. Clockwork, it came. The dream. Okay, so I'm in chapter 20. "25 minutes into the chapter, so let me just do control F like clockwork. There it is. That's fair. Yeah, I kind of want to start writing my poetry again, now that things are less stressful. I need to send you a picture of my pantry because it's pretty. I still haven't done like all of my shopping yet, but it's a lot better than it was like a week and a half ago. Okay. Currently, I am about to read from chapter 20 of Divinia, A Fate Unwound. And I know that's not the book on the thing, however, I did just finish reading that. I'm not going to do any of the editing right now. I'm going to work on that when I'm not on live because that is boring and repetitive. Anyways, okay. The dinner table. The familiar faces of the competitors. Their eyes burned into her. Their voices whispering. Become stronger. Use your anger. Finish what you started. Her breath hitched. Her hands were already slick with blood, the dagger trembling. One by one she cut them down. One by one they fell. But when she dirked, Turn was still there. There we are. One by one they fell. One by one they fell. That was a key break. A key stroke. One by one they fell. But when she turned, Dirk was still there, waiting, watching. She raised the blade, but her hands shook. It's your choice, Alice. The words struck like a hammer against glass. She felt herself teetering, the dream crumbling, darkness threatening to pull her under. Then she woke. Her breath was ragged. Her heart beat like a war drum. The barracks were still, silent. Alice sat up slowly, her hands curling. Her hands curled. Her hands curled into fists against the thin blanket. She hadn't killed him. Not yet. But she would. One day she would make her choice. She lay back down, staring into the dark, waiting for sleep. Tomorrow, training continued, and so did the war inside her. King's observation and the coin test. The training grounds were alive with the sound of clashing steel. Okay, that's a whole new... I thought it was the same scene. My bad. There's no division there. Let's update that a little bit. Yeah. Let me send that in a message real quick. Minute. No. No, just leave it in there and okay. King's King's observation and the coin test. The training grounds were alive with the sound of clashing steel, boots scraping against frozen dirt, and the occasional grunt. Today, however, an unfamiliar presence washed over them. King Cyro Selsta stood atop the training platform. Is that how you say that? Let me look at my... Is the main characters or is royalty? Before else. Okay. Don't have one for that. Zeros? Okay, hold on. Shut up, go away. You pronounce...
Cyro.
Cyros?
Cairo. Cairo.
Kairos? Kairos?
Cyro.
Kairos. Or Kairos. It's C-Y-R-O-S.
Cyro. Cyro. Ciro. Ciro.
Okay, so that didn't help at all. Because, like, all the different ways that you could pronounce it are all the ways that I was trying to pronounce it. Alright, let me see if I can... Okay. Name. Maybe. No. Cyrus. C-Y-R-O-S. Cyrus? Cyrus Selsta. Does that sound right? Cyros? It's Cyros. There's no U. Cyros? Cyrus? I said Cyros originally. Cause like, okay, let me read you the other. Cyrus. The other names that are in this book are names like Alice, spelled Alyc, Dirk, Bragand, Sace, Vienna, Magra, Brooke, Jesta, Jorgen, Bex, Morrow, Braille, Solarius, Lunarius, things like that. Aus? Cyraus? Or Us? Mm. It won't let me. Cyrus? King Cyrus Selsta stood atop the training platform. Eat. Alright, look, dude. The only reason why you are still in here is because I am too broken to chase you down, but if you keep ruining my chances at recording, you will be squished. Thank you. Stink bug. Alright. King Cyrus Selsta stood atop the training platform, his cloak billowing slightly as he observed the shade cloaks. His piercing silver eyes flicked over each recruit with quiet calculation. He was not a man prone to outward displays of emotion, but his silence was often far more dangerous than words. From his vantage point, he watched as Jesta led the shade cloaks through a rigorous sparring exercise. Paired off, they moved with deadly precision, testing speed, adaptability, and endurance. He was here to assess the new blood, but his attention focused on one recruit, Alice Halcyon. She moved with the intensity he had rarely seen. Quick, calculating, relentless. There was a sharpness in her strikes that spoke of more than just skill. It was the blade of something much deeper. He had seen warriors with that kind of fire before. Some became legends. Others became threats. Jesto watched from the sidelines, arms crossed, offering brief instructions and sharp corrections. Alice's opponent was Nick, a veteran of the Shade Cloaks whose reputation was built on brutality. He fought like a storm, unforgiving and merciless. But Alice felt like a dagger in the dark, waiting, watching. striking only when the moment was right. Nick came at her. I stumbled a bit. Okay. Nick came at her with the same vicious efficiency that had made him infamous. He fought without wasted movement, every attack calculated, every strike meant to break, not test. His dual daggers flashed as he lunged, his footwork light. Alice remained still, waiting. A feint to the left, a sudden pivot. Nick's dagger aimed straight for her ribs. Alice sidestepped at the last second, twisting to avoid the second strike that followed. Her footwork was sharp, but she wasn't fast enough to avoid the grazing cut along her forearm. Pain bloomed, but she didn't flinch. She let him press forward, let him think she was on the defensive. It was only when he committed to a heavy downward slash that she moved. Alice ducked low, sweeping her leg in a sharp arc. Nick leaped over the attempt, but she was already rising, stepping inside his reach before he could adjust. She struck. A sharp elbow to his ribs, a pivot to his blind spot, a forceful kick to the back of his knee. Nick stumbled, caught himself, and turned just in time for Alice's fist to slam into his jaw. My back is being rude. Let's get closer so that I can use more of the chair support. All right. Sometimes we must adapt to the disabilities. Yeah. But good news about the back pain is, that's what finally pushed me over to 100%.
Slam into his jaw.
All right, into his jaw. There it is. He reeled, stepping back to recover. That was when she pressed her advantage. Alice feinted high, then went low, slamming into him and driving him to the ground. They hit the dirt hard, her knee pressing into his chest, her forearm across his throat. His hand twitched toward his dagger. Alice grabbed it first and pressed the dull edge against his throat. Silence. Nick blinked up at her, then exhaled sharply. Then he chuckled, a low, dark sound. Not bad, he admitted, not bothering to push her off. Alice held his gaze a moment longer before standing. Okay.
Off.
Alice held his gaze a moment longer before. Blah. And that's a motorcycle. Okay. Alice held his gaze a moment longer before standing and tossing the blade aside. Justa's voice broke through the quiet. Enough. Justa stepped forward, her expression unreadable as she surveyed the shade cloaks. You've tested your skills against each other, she said. I didn't use the right voice for enough, did I?
Enough.
Nope. All right. I'm just going to record from that spot on because it's easier that way for the moment. Enough. Justa stepped forward, her expression unreadable as she surveyed the shade cloaks. You've tested your skills against each other, she said, voice sharp, commanding. Now it's time to test something more important, your ability to think. from her cloak, Jessa produced a single silver coin. She held it between two fingers, letting it catch the dim light. "This exercise is simple," she announced. "I have placed this coin into one of your pockets. Only they and I know who has it." Murmurs spread. Alice's gaze sharpened. "The objective is to retrieve the coin and bring it back to me," Jesta continued, "without being caught." Silence stretched. Alice could already feel the tension rising. Shade cloaks weren't trained for brute strength. They were trained for deception, for stealth. This wasn't about being the fastest or the strongest. This was about outthinking everyone. Jesta's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You have until the end of the day." And then she walked off, leaving the shade cloaks to process her words. I like this book. It's good book. It's very good book. It's the winner. I'm gonna have until the end of December to finish this one. But it was actually my first contract. So I've been working on it since September.
Says her words.
Process her words. Where is that at? There it is. Okay. Alice's mind was already moving. She scanned the others, watching their body language, the subtle shifts of weight. No one would move immediately. That wasn't how this game worked. There were two ways to win: find out who had the coin and take it, or wait for someone else to try and steal it and take it from them. She wasn't interested in waiting. Her gaze flickered over the shade cloaks, masters of deception. But everyone had a tell. A hesitation, a misstep. Alice wasn't looking for the strongest fighter or the fastest thief. She was looking for someone who knew they were being watched. Training resumed, but the tension lingered. They ran drills, sharpened blades, and practiced silent movement, all while the coin remained hidden. Is his bell picking up?
All while the coin remained hidden.
Let me switch it to my headset real quick so I can see. Okay, cool. Can't hear it. Just need to make sure that the cat wasn't ruining my take from the freaking hallway. Alright, let's switch that back to...
All while the coin remained hidden.
Yeah, you can hear it as well. Okay. No one wanted to be the first to move. Alice watched. Every shade cloak was skilled at masking their intentions, but one was more aware than the rest. Ben Drelmer. She noticed it in the way his eyes flicked to his surroundings more often than necessary. The way his fingers twitched near his belt, like he was resisting the urge to check his pocket. He was too controlled, too aware. It was him. She didn't act immediately. She let the game play out, biding her time. If she was right, she would only have one chance. Finally, when the others were distracted, Alice struck. She found Ben behind the weapons shed, checking the straps on his armor. He turned around at the last second, but he was already too late. Alice struck fast. A sharp jab to the throat. I'd hope if I read the whole sentence. A sharp jab to the throat stilled his breath, and before he could react, she swept his legs out from under him. Ben hit the ground hard, his back slamming against the dirt. The moment he landed, Alice pressed a knee into his chest, pinning him. His hand twitched toward his dagger. Alice grabbed his wrist and forced it back. Don't. Ben's eyes narrowed. He struggled, but she held firm. She wasn't about to give him a chance to recover. With her free hand, she slipped into his belt pouch. There. Her fingers curled around the coin, its cool metal pressing against her palm. She rolled off him before he could retaliate, flicking the silver piece between her fingers. Ben groaned, clutching his ribs as he struggled to get up. You should have hidden it better, she muttered before turning and walking away. She didn't bother looking back. Justa was standing near the training grounds, her sharp eyes locked on a sparring match. Alice strode up, tossing the coin to her. It's done. Justa caught it, her expression unreadable. Where's Ben? Unconscious, behind the weapons shed. A flicker of disapproval crossed Justa's face. I never commanded you to hurt anyone. Alice shrugged. You never said not to. Justa exhaled slowly, looking her up and down. How did you know it was him? He was looking around too much, like he expected someone to come for him. Justa's jaw tightened. And if you were wrong, if you attacked an innocent? Alice didn't hesitate. The world is full of innocent people that get hurt. Silence stretched. Around them, the shade close continued training, unaware of the tension. Justa held Alice's gaze for a long moment, her lips pressed into a thin line. Then, with a slow exhale, she spoke. You are done for the day. Alice said nothing. She turned and strode off, ignoring curious glances. Justa watched her go, then let out a sharp breath before turning toward the training grounds. A shadow loomed nearby, tall and unmoving. King Cirrus. We said Cirrus. King Cirrus Selsta. The king of Selenia stood at the edge of the training circle, watching the recruits with an expression as unreadable as stone. Flickering torches cast long shadows over his form, illuminating his deep blue cloak, its silver embroidery glinting. His silvered hair was neatly combed back, his sharp, regal features creased in thought. His expression was unreadable, but his focus never wavered. His eyes weren't on the shade cloaks. They were on her. Justa approached his with measured steps, not his measured steps. Justa approached with measured steps, stopping just short of his side. Your Majesty. Cirrus didn't acknowledge her at first. His gaze remained locked on Alice, watching her stride toward the barracks, her shoulders stiff with barely restrained fury. The tension in her every movement was palpable, the kind that only came from a battle fought within as much as without. She's dangerous, he muttered at last. Just across her arms. So are all of us. The king turned his gaze. I missed the word. The king finally turned his gaze toward her. Not like that. Justa didn't argue. They both knew it was true. Silence stretched. Then Cirrus spoke again. Can she be His tone was even, but thoughtful. Wary. Justa could feel his gaze pressing, demanding an answer. She didn't give one right away. Instead, she exhaled slowly, measured, calculated. I don't know, she admitted. The king's jaw tightened slightly. Sirius Selsta was not a man who liked uncertainty. Jesta, however, continued, unfazed. You controlled, Your Majesty. She shifted, glancing back at the barracks where Alice had disappeared. I need her to be prepared. Sirius studied her carefully, his silver eyes gleaming. They were so many silver eyes. They were the same color as the steel banners of Selenia. Cold, unwavering, relentless. He wasn't a man given to sentiment. He wasn't a man given to sentiment, but Justin knew he had a vision, a future he always looked toward. Prepared for what? He asked, his voice quieter now. For whatever comes next. Just as words hung. She knew the king had sensed it. The shift in the air in Selenia. The air in Selenia humming with. What? The shift in the air in Selenia humming. Okay. He missed the comma. And I didn't. Okay. The shift in the air in Selenia humming with something just beneath the surface. Unease. An unspoken tension. Not war. Not yet. But something loomed on the horizon. And Alice Halcyon? She would be at the center of it, whether she wanted to be or not. She has the makings of something powerful, Jessa continued. Something Selenia may need. The king inhaled deeply, his gaze returning to the empty courtyard. His fingers curled slightly before he exhaled and nodded, conceding. And what do you plan to do with her? Jesta's answer was immediate. I'm choosing her to represent the Shade Cloaks in the trials of valor. Sorry, I had a weird hiccup thing happen. That was... That made the king pause. His brows lifted slightly, an uncommon show of surprise. You're certain? Yes. Another long pause. Then Sirius turned his gaze back toward the training fields, where warriors still sparred. It was just empty. Sorry. I'm used to yelling at the other book for inconsistencies. He's not near as bad with inconsistencies. There are a couple, but like, he's pretty cool. I like him. He good people.
Back toward the training fields.
Where warriors still sparred. Finally, he nodded. I trust your judgment. Jesta inclined her head slightly, acknowledging the decision. For a long moment, Sirius said nothing else. Then his expression shifted, his voice taking on something more deliberate. I would like you to act as Selenia's sword master for the upcoming trials. Jesta's head lifted slightly. For the first time, something unreadable flickered across her face. An honor, Your Majesty. Sirius turned to her fully, his expression unyielding. I know you were disappointed last year, he said. You fought to win, but fate had other plans. Jesta's lips pressed into a thin line. Fate. That was one way to put it. The king's gaze darkened. This year, as sword master. This year, as sword master, I expect a Selenian champion. Jesta didn't immediately respond. Her mind was already moving, calculating, planning. Finally, she gave a slow nod. "We'll see." Sirius studied her for a moment longer before offering a simple, "Good." Then, without another word, he turned and strode away, disappearing into the palace corridors. Jester remained where she stood, her thoughts lingering on Alice. This was going to be interesting. Alice's rage and Salmon's manipulation. Oh, wait, no, that's a title thing I think he left in there. Alice's rage and Salmon's manipulation. Alice pressed her back against the stone wall, heart pounding. She had followed Jesta the moment she noticed the king watching her. Curiosity. Curiosity.
Watching her.
Curiosity, instinct, something deeper. She wasn't sure what. That sentence is so weird.
Curiosity, instinct.
Okay, weird sentence. Something deeper. She wasn't sure. Something deeper. She wasn't sure what had driven her. Okay, so that there should be a comma under something deeper. Okay, let me sit straight up for a bit. Fantasy story reading. Discuss plot. Thanks, AI. I
Instinct.
Something deeper. She wasn't sure what had driven her, only that she needed to know. Hidden just beyond the courtyard, she had heard everything. She should have been thrilled. Jesta had chosen her. She was going to the trials. But she wasn't. Not because of Jesta's decision, because of the king's. Can she be controlled? Alice clenched her fists, barely suppressing the snarl that wanted to rip from her throat. Now the king of Selenia... Now the king of Selenia wanted to control her? Her jaw tightened as she pushed off the stone and strode away, her anger curling in her chest like a living thing. She didn't stop moving until she reached the outskirts of the training grounds. From there, she had the best view of the Ignis Luna Mountains. Jagged peaks rose against the twilight, their dark silhouettes cutting through the sky. They had stood for over a century, unmoving, unbreakable. They had been one they had seen. They had seen what Divinia had become since their creation. Alice exhaled sharply. That's where they all die. She didn't know why the thought came to her so... She didn't know why the thought came so suddenly, so clearly, but it did, and she didn't push it away. The sound of footsteps pulled... The sound of footsteps behind her pulled her from her thoughts. She didn't have to turn to know who it was. Salmon. He lowered himself onto the ground beside her, stretching his legs out lazily. So? He mused, glancing at her with a smirk. What's with the storm brewing in your eyes? Alice didn't answer right away. The anger still burned, refusing to settle. She had been chosen for the trials of valor. handpicked by Jesta herself. She should have felt pride, satisfaction, victory. Instead, all she felt was rage. Finally, she exhaled. The king spoke to Jesta. Salmon arched an eyebrow. And? He wanted to know if I could be controlled. Salmon hummed, his gaze shifting toward the mountains. Of course he did. His casual tone sent another wave of irritation through her. Alice clenched her fists. Fists. Why do I have such a hard time with the word fists? Fists. All right, let's try that one more again, shall we? Hello, Arabella. Thank you for joining.
Wave of irritation through her.
Alice clenched her fists. He wants to use me, like some toy. Salmon chuckled. You're surprised? Sorry. You're surprised? She turned to glare. You think this is funny? He met her gaze, his smirk fading into something sharper. No, Alice. I think it's expected. He tilted his head. Kings fear warriors like you, because they can't tame you. Alice exhaled sharply, shifting her gaze back to the Ignis Luna Mountains. The jagged peaks stood against the twilight, unmoving, unbreakable. Jesta's putting me in the trials. Salmon whistled low. Well, that's a twist. She told the king she doesn't need me to be controlled. Alice's fingers curled tighter against the dirt. She needs me to be prepared. Salmon leaned back against the tree, watching her. Sounds like she sees something in you. She sees a weapon. He chuckled again. And that's a problem because... Alice turned to him sharply. Because I'm tired of people trying to use me. Salmon's smirk didn't fade. He exhaled through his nose and tilted his head, studying her. Alice, he said slowly, deliberately. Let me ask you something. She didn't respond, but he continued. You don't want to be controlled, right? Her glare deepened. Obviously. So why do you care what they want? He leaned closer, his green eyes gleaming. Who cares if the king wants to control you? Who cares if justice sees you as a weapon? Alice frowned. Salmon's voice lowered, smoothing into a whisper. You're looking at this all wrong. He gestured toward the mountains. You keep thinking of yourself as a pawn in their game. But what if you were the one playing? Alice stared at him. You're in the trials, Salmon said, his tone almost teasing. That means you're not some... That means you're not just some recruit anymore. You're going to be seen by everyone. The king, the council, Divinia itself. His smirk widened. And once they see you, they won't be able to look away. Alice turned back toward the mountains, his words digging into her like hooks. She said nothing. Salmon was telling her something different, something dangerous. What if she let them see what they wanted to see? What if she let them believe they had a weapon in their hands until it was too late to realize that the weapon was never theirs to wield? She exhaled slowly. Salmon watched her for a long moment, his smirk never fading. Then, with a satisfied hum, he pushed himself to his feet. "Look on the bright side, Malice," he said, stretching. "You're getting exactly what you wanted." Alice didn't respond. She just kept staring at the mountains, because she wasn't sure if that was a good thing. But she did know one thing. If they wanted to control her, they were already too late. End of chapter 20. And I have been live for an hour and a half, so you know what that means, ladies and gents. It is time for a broccoli break, so that my back can stop hating me so much. Son of a biscuit eater. Ugh. All right. Debating on whether or not to bring that one with me or to just use my phone and just like be in the chat. I'm gonna just be in the chat. I'm gonna mute the mic on this one though. Mute. Let's to do the sign. Here it is. went to work, so they're gonna be like, did he come home? Robert, I need to kick you out. Yes, Mr. Robertson. Oh, I know. I'm so evil. Yep. I love you, though. That was some uncracker knocker bullshit. The entire thing went flying, and then the phone separated from the stand. Ah! Hi.
Let's punch you in makeup there. Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, you fold. Yay, not hurt. That's good.
Neither is phone, which is kind of incredible because I don't know how much this phone has been through, but it's been a lot. Did I just hear another jingle jingle inside here? Princess, are you in here too? God damn it. Hold on. He's just right outside my fucking door. Oh no, you're at my fucking door. Hello, princess. I'm sorry, baby girl. I didn't know you were in here. Alright, but I do have to kick you out too, little one. I love you though. Hmm. Hmm. Nope. You guys both go out. Yeah, princess was in here too. So I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just like, I hear a bell, and it doesn't sound like it's on the other side of a door. So I checked her usual hiding spaces, but no, she was just at the door waiting to be let out. Usually I'll let her stay in here. She's just trying to hide from Bobby because he can be ruthless when it's like, play with me.
Ooh, I do have to like kind of brag on somebody that I've been flirting with lately though. And he's awesome sauce. We've been talking for a couple of weeks. And our tisms are the same flavor. Unfortunately, he is in Texas. And fuck that state. But everything else is going great. But him make me smile stupid at my phone.
Okay.
Champions. Meow. Meow, 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 meow. Speaking of which, I'm going to send my thing to him again and be like, hey, Compester.
Actually, let me message him on Discord and be like, I'm reading the good book now. Okay. Alrighty. What, the good book? Yeah. It's just, the other one could be so good. It really could. There were so many, like, couple of paragraph moments where I'm like, oh, this could be such a beautiful story. And then it went back to what it was. So much fun. All right. Right? If it would have had a storyline. Because, like, the only storyline was dude had a hedonistic past. She finds out. Shock. Ah, oh my goodness. And then they go on. And then she finds out about his hedonistic past. Shock. Oh my goodness. And it keeps going that way for like 20 of the 41 chapters. And then, like, the other half is her realizing that she can forgive him for his hedonistic past and overcoming jealousy. And honestly, like, the entire book was so much toxic monogamy. Like, and that's why I'm like, I really need to. But I signed the contract, and I'm not going to be the person to back out of my contract. So, it is a learning experience. I now know that I can bring a lot of life to a book like that. At least I know that I have the skill set. So that kind of boosts my mojo a bit. But if I had the option to do it again, probably not. But, you know. All right. Chapter 21. The Five Champions. The morning arrived with a crisp chill, but within the Shade Cloak training grounds, the heat of combat never wavered. Clashing blades, quick footfalls, and sharp commands blended into a familiar rhythm. Yet, beneath it all, an undercurrent of tension, an unspoken weight pressed on every recruit's shoulders. The trials of valor loomed, and with them, the selection of Selenia's champions. Alice had known this day was coming. She had trained harder than anyone, fought without hesitation, and pushed herself beyond every limit. And yet, as she moved through the day's routine, something gnawed at her. No one pushed her. No one challenged her. She had already risen. Discussing dating and cat stories. Comment on dating experiences. What the fuck, AI? When now whenever you go live, like it'll try to pick up what you're talking about and like pop up with little hints on how to engage you in conversation. Yeah. Ugh, I need to. I'll be having my hair back soon.
No one challenged her.
She had already risen above the rest. Even as she faced her fellow shade cloaks in combat, she felt the hollowness of each encounter. Ghost tested her ability to vanish. She slipped into shadows with ease. Hollow pressed her with relentless blade work. She countered every strike before he committed. Echo tried to throw her off with distractions and feints, but she recognized his patterns before he completed them. It wasn't arrogance that set her apart. It was reality. And that reality made her restless. The final spar of the morning ended with Alice standing alone once again, her opponents defeated, winded, or unwilling to face her. The moment settled uncomfortably in the silence. Then, Jesta's voice cut through the stillness. "We're headed to the Great Hall," she announced, her tone leaving no room for argument.
Her tone leaving no room for argument.
The selection begins. Alice's hands clenched, then relaxed. She rolled her shoulders before falling into step behind Jesta. The shade cloaks moved in unison, their silent formation a stark contrast to the murmuring soldiers gathering outside the barracks. The selection for the trials of valor was more than an announcement. It was a spectacle. As they passed through the training grounds and onto the main path leading toward the Great Hall, Alice caught glimpses of other warriors, soldiers from the Frostblade Vanguard, the Glacial Wind Corps, the Moon Guard, and the Ice-Forged Artificers, all making their way to the ceremony. Some exchanged confident nods. Others whispered, their eyes flickering towards the shade cloaks, not fade cloaks. Yeah. I've practiced the frog blink so much that now it's like natural. I have legit been half awake and had the spawnling pop into my face with some teenage bullshit. And I do the frog blink at her. And it amuses her heavily every time it happens. I practiced it mostly so that whenever I do my lip sync videos, which I need to do some because I upgraded my phone and lost all my drafts. So I don't have any drafts, which is why I've been posting all of my memory things, this time whatever year, because I don't have anything to post. So, yeah, I lost like 50 Talon videos. I thought I was set for a couple months, but no. And then the contracts, so I just haven't had a chance.
Others whispered.
Whispered. You whispered. Their eyes flickering toward the shade cloaks, toward Alice. She ignored them. The walk through Selenia's capital was short, but the weight of what awaited made it feel longer. The great hall of Selenia was a fortress of power and prestige. Banners of deep blue and silver lined the towering pillars, catching the flickering torchlight. The ceilings stretched impossibly high, their archways carved with stories of past champions. Hundreds had gathered. Soldiers, nobles, and commoners packed the vast chamber, eager to witness the selection. What happened with what? With the frog wing thing? My memory is really bad. I'm sorry. Like my short-term memory has gotten disturbingly bad. But meh. Hello, hello. Oh, the draft loss? Oh, I upgraded my phone, so I lost like 50 drafts. Because I didn't think about it until like literally right after I had factory reset my old phone for my partner to use. Eager to witness the selection. There it is. Okay. The hall was filled with tension, anticipation from those who hoped to be chosen, speculation about those who represent Selenia, those who would. Speculation about who would represent Speculation about who would represent Selenia. At the front, 5 long tables stood, each marked with a sigil of Selenia's 5 military divisions. Beyond them, at the highest dais, sat King Cirrus Celestia. Sat King Cirrus Celesta. Cirrus Celesta. Cirrus Celesta. Why so serious? I'm totally Toberosifer, I swear. At the highest dais sat King Cirrus Celesta, flanked by the 5 generals of Selenia. Their gazes were unreadable, their presence alone enough to quiet the gathering crowd. But they were not the only forces watching. Near the far side of the hall, standing like shadows of fate, were 6 members of the Divine Council: the Seer, the Dreamweaver, the Shadowkeeper, the Stoneheart, the Lifebringer, and the Skywatcher. Okay. Just... Alice felt their presence as a weight in the air, an unseen force pressing against her skin. But it was the Seer's eyes she felt the most. As Alice moved with the shade cloaks, she heard the whispers that followed her, not of admiration, nor of excitement. Fear. Curiosity. Wariness. Awe. They weren't looking at a competitor. They were looking at malice. A hush fell over the great hall as King Cirrus rose to his feet. His silvered hair. His silvered hair caught the firelight, his deep blue cloak shifting. When he spoke, his voice was absolute. "The trials of valor are upon us," he declared, reverberating across the chamber. "This year, the path to victory will be forged by those who embody the heart of Selenia, by warriors who do not falter in the face of the storm. He turned his gaze towards Jesta. And so, the sword that forges them must be sharper than any before. Jesta stepped forward, her stance rigid, her expression unreadable. Jesta Valance will serve as swordmaster for this year's trials. A murmur rippled through the hall. Some nodded in approval. Others glanced at her with measured expressions. Alice's gaze flickered to Jesta's face. No reaction. The king's voice dropped slightly, carrying something unspoken, weighty. I expect a Selenian champion. Jesta stood firm. No acknowledgement. No acknowledgement. No response. But Alice saw the tension in her shoulders. Then the seer moved. She stepped forward, her celestial robes glimmering like woven constellations. Unlike the king, she did not command attention. She simply had it. When she spoke, her voice was neither loud nor soft, but it cut through the silence like a blade. The trials of valor are more than a competition, she said. They are a reflection of who we are, of what we will become. Her gaze did not sweep across the room. It remained on Alice. This year, these trials will shape not just champions, but the destiny of Divinia. Alice's spine stiffened. For there are fates that have already been sealed, the seer continued, and fates that have yet to be decided. A chill crept up Alice's spine. The seer knew something, but she did not explain. Then it began. One by one, the 5 generals stood to announce their chosen warriors. Sorry. Sometimes when I do the seers parts, it just gives me freaking goosebumps. And then my skin gets mad at me. Okay. Anyways. Commander Valeth... Yay, thank you. I appreciate. Commander Valeth Sarrowwind of the Moon Guard was the first. The Moon God stands as Selenia's shield. Our champion will be one who has never wavered. Oh, her. Shit. Guard was the first.
Let's delete that sentence.
The Moon Guild stands as Selenia's shield. Our champion will be one who has never wavered. Her sharp gaze swept over the gathered warriors before settling on a single figure. Kaelin Frostvale. A murmur spread as Kaelin stepped forward. He was composed, precise, his every movement deliberate. The twin blades. The twin blades strapped to his back were a testament to his skill. He bowed slightly to Valeth before taking his place. He bowed slightly to Valeth. He bowed slightly to Valeth before taking his place. He bowed slightly to Valeth before taking his place among the chosen. The cheers that followed were respectful, measured. A warrior of his caliber was expected to compete. Next, Commander Ysari Grimholt of the Frostblade Yeah, that one works. That's a good emoji for it. Oh, my back is mad. Okay. Yeah, I now have a bilateral hip degeneration and osteoarthritis of like my lower back. Like L1 through 5 and S1, I think. Yeah.
So much fun.
Good news is they are working on my meds and stuff since they took me off the gabapentin. So hopefully we will find a blend that works well. But the gabapentin may be what messed up my memory because the MRI didn't show any difference between now and 2 years ago when I had that migraine. So it's not an outside force as far as like a tumor or something. But meh.
Think for your hoodies.
Expected to compete. Next, Commander Yasari Grimholt of the Frostblade Vanguard rose, a formidable man with ice-gray eyes and a voice like grinding stone. He wasted no words. Strength, resilience, endurance. These are the virtues of the Frostblade Vanguard. His expression did not change as he turned. Torin Veilheart. Torin was a brute of a man, nearly a head taller than most. He moved with quiet confidence, his heavy steps carrying him forward without hesitation. A warrior built for war. The applause was louder. Selenians valued strength, and Torin embodied it. Commander Renvar Skythorn of the Glacial Wind Corps was... Really? I stumble over, took his turn, and not Renvar Skythorn of the Glacial Wind Corps? What the fuck was that?
I'ma need you
To cooperate. Bullshit. Commander Renvar Skythorn of the Glacial Wind Corps took his turn, lean with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Speed, precision, and instinct win battles, he declared, and there's no one who embodies these better than Lyra Veswin. Veswin? A flicker of movement, barely noticeable, and Lyra was already stepping forward. She moved like the wind itself, graceful, fluid, untouched by hesitation. Her presence was a stark contrast to Torin's, but no less commanding. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Admiration from those who respected her skill. Doubt from those who placed brute strength above... Brother? All right, brother. Doubt from those who placed brute strength above all else. Commander Varric Colmer of the Ice-Forged Artificers... Curse you, roticism. Why you gotta be a bitch? Commander Varric Colmer of the Ice-Forged Artificers rose next. Older than the others, his expression calm and thoughtful. Intelligence is as deadly. Intelligence is as deadly as any blade, he said simply. Selwyn Draven. Selwyn was a man who did not look like a warrior at first glance. Slender, with sharp features and a calculating gaze. He carried himself with the air of a scholar rather than a soldier. But those who had seen him fight knew better. I'd hope if I actually do the enunciation correct. But those who had seen him fight knew better. He wielded his spear not with brute force, but with precision, strategy, and an uncanny ability to read his opponents. His selection drew murmurs of intrigue rather than thunderous applause. Then the hall fell silent as the final general stepped forward.
Just a little.
All stepped forward. Just of Valence. She did not pause, did not build tension. Her voice was steady, decisive. The shade cloaks choose Alice Halcyon. The murmurs were immediate. Alice stepped forward without hesitation, ignoring the reactions, the unease, the whispered doubts, the speculative glances. She had known this was coming. Knew the moment Jessa had called them to the great hall. Still, she felt the weight of the divine council's eyes on her. The seer watched, her expression unreadable. Everyone's expression is unreadable, apparently. Always, ever, five ever. Full ever. The Shadow Keeper tilted her head slightly, as if considering something new. The Life-Bringer showed no emotion. Alice reached the stage and stood beside the others, her expression blank. The selections were complete. The cheers returned, though they felt distant, muted beneath. All right, turn this way and see if that helps some. Though they felt distant. Muted beneath the hum of tension. Alice didn't care. This was just another step. Another path forward. Justa found her after the ceremony, away from the crowd, near the outer walls of the great hall. You don't just represent yourself, Justa said, arms crossed. You represent the Shade Cloaks. You represent Selenia. Alice met her gaze, unflinching. And? Justa's expression hardened. That means your decisions don't just fall on you. They fall on all of us. Alice didn't respond. She already knew that. She just didn't care. The warriors were... The warriors were chosen. The trials of valor had begun. Alice was one step closer. Salmon's in sight. The night air was crisp, the echoes of celebration still carrying through the great hall as Alice stepped away from the commotion. Did I just mess that up? Alice stepped away from the commotion. No, it's fine. The weight of the selection didn't sit on her shoulders. The weight of the selection didn't sit on her shoulders the way it seemed to for the rest of the others. Why am I adding words? Why is my brain adding words? The weight of the selection didn't sit on her shoulders the way it seemed to for the others. She had known this was coming. She had fought for it. What came next didn't concern her, only that she moved forward. That was weird. Fought for it. Yeah, my mouth is getting tired.
Fought for it.
Where was the spot? There it is. What came next didn't concern her, only that she moved forward. She made her way toward the barracks, weaving through the quieter parts of the stronghold, when she felt this presence before she heard it. When she felt the presence before she heard it, a figure emerging from the shadows, moving with an ease that most wouldn't notice, but Alice did. Salmon, you've got the whole kingdom talking, he murmured as he fell into step beside her, hands in his pockets. Some are saying Jess has gone mad for choosing you. Alice snorted. Let them. Salmon smirked. And the rest? They think you might just be the one to win it all. Alice glanced at him then, her mismatched eyes sharp. I don't care about winning. Salmon hummed in amusement, tilting his head. Then why are you here? Alice didn't answer. She didn't need to. Salmon didn't press her. He knew her well enough to recognize that she wouldn't give him an answer he didn't already expect. Instead, he simply walked beside her, silent, the two of them moving through the empty corridors of the stronghold like shadows. Finally, he sighed. You know, they're going to be watching you now more than ever. The generals, the Divine Council, the king himself. Alice smirked. Let them. Salmon chuckled under his breath. That's what I thought you'd say. They reached the barracks, the doors looming before them. Salmon lingered for a moment before turning to her. I didn't mean to click.
Looming before them.
Salmon lingered for a moment before turning to her, his expression unreadable. Get some rest, Malice. She didn't watch him leave. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The barracks were quiet, the other shade cloaks already asleep. She moved to her cot, stripping off her cloak and boots before lying down. The events of the night swirled in her mind, the weight of the selection pressing against the edges of her thoughts. She stared at the ceiling, letting the silence settle over her. The trials had begun, and she would be ready. That is the end of chapter 21. That was actually a pretty short chapter for him. Hello, Doug. Thank you for joining. I just finished chapter 21 of Divinia, A Fate Unwound. I am currently working on setting up the file for chapter 22. I'm going to continue until my lips won't let me. Or until 9:30, whichever happens first. Because I have to be up at normal people hours tomorrow. I'm doing the driving job for a bit. Okay. New track. Chapter 22. Jesta the Swordmaster. The morning after the selections, the 5 chosen warriors gathered on the training grounds. Alice Halcyon, Lyra Veswin, Torin Veilheart, Selwyn Draven, and Kaelin Frostvale stood shoulder to shoulder, their breath misting in the crisp air. An invisible force pressed down on them. No longer just recruits, they were the faces of Selenia's future. expected to bring honor to their divisions in the trials of valor. AI said reading chapter 21. Comment for next. What the fuck, AI? Alright, hold on. I gotta stretch the neck a smidge. Remember to stretch, folks. How creepy did that look? Okay. Hello, Doug. Thank you for joining again. You keep popping in and out. Are you okay? Oh, fair. In the trials of valor. Excuse me. Really glad I paused for a second because I felt that. Okay. Divisions in the trials of valor. Justa Valent stood before them, arms crossed, her face as unreadable as ever. Her gaze swept over the group, her presence alone silencing any murmurs. When she spoke, her voice was sharp, cutting through the morning chill. "You have 5 months to prepare," she said. That wasn't quite her voice. You. There it is. I am recording. Ooh, what you cooking? Are you cooking for me? Through the morning chill. "You have 5 months to prepare," she said, her eyes locked onto Alice, as if measuring something unspoken. Then she continued, "The trials of valor are more than a competition. You aren't training for glory. You're training for war." The words settled over them like a weight. Alice didn't flinch. Neither did Torin. The others nodded, absorbing the gravity. "The world is watching," Justice said simply. "We start now." Training began immediately, and it was merciless. Each warrior had their strengths. Torin fought like a living fortress, his strikes slow but devastating, his body unshaken by pain. Kaelin moved with flawless precision, his dual blades a blur of disciplined efficiency. Lyra was speed incarnate, darting like a shadow, impossible to pin down. Selwyn relied on strategy, adapting to each battle like a scholar, wielding his spear with the intellect few could match. Did I say the? It's Anne. Wielding his spear with the intellect. With Anne. Wielding his spear with an intellect few could match. And Alice? Alice fought like a storm relentless. Missed a colon there, my dude. Alice fought like a storm, relentless, unyielding, impossible to contain. She didn't fight for honor or recognition. She fought to break them down. During a sparring session, Kaelin attempted to outmaneuver her, his footwork quick and precise, his blades dancing in perfect synchronization. He was skilled, trained to fight with grace, but grace was meaningless against brutality. Alice caught his movement a fraction of a second before he committed. He stepped in, aiming a quick slash at her side, but she was already moving. She pivoted sharply, catching his wrist and twisting with enough force to send his blade clattering to the ground. He barely had time to react before she drove her knee into his ribs, knocking the air from his lungs. Kalen staggered, his stance breaking for just a moment, just long enough for Alice to sweep his legs out from under him. He hit the dirt hard. Meow. What, did Fuego just come in here and tease me with food and then leave? He knows better than most what an appetite I can have. Sorry, he's the one that I was gushing about earlier.
He makes me do the stupid smile.
He hit the dirt hard. A sharp whistle cut through the air. Enough, Jesta called, her tone even. Alice stepped back, fists still clenched, waiting for the order to continue. But there was no order. Kalen groaned, pushing himself up, but he didn't look at her. None of them did. They had all seen it. Alice wasn't fighting for control. She wasn't fighting to prove herself. She fought to destroy, and that terrified them. Jesta didn't reprimand her. She simply moved on, treating the day like any other. But her methods were clear. She wasn't training them to win a tournament. She was training them for war. The lessons were brutal. They learned to read an opponent's breathing, the subtle shifts in muscle tension that betrayed an incoming strike. Around people in the hallway. I am currently live, but you are welcome to come in.
Huh?
I'm currently live, but you are welcome to come in.
Hey, we called you.
Okay, well, I'm live at the moment, so.
Told you. So her phone was outside, but she didn't hear us. Hi, Mom.
Hello.
We're home.
I noticed.
You want to laugh?
At?
Me and Gilly and Mr. Taggett.
What happened?
So I had called Gil on the way out to see if I could stop by, and he didn't answer fast enough. And so I called him again when we were on our way back, and I'm like, hey, could I stop by? I want to see you. And I don't know. So we pulled in, and I said, I can see your window. I know it sounds like a creep, but I can see your window. And he's like, I mean, I think they're asleep right now. I'm like, I mean, all I wanted was a hug, but if you're not able to come outside, I get it. I'll go home.
Yeah.
And he was like, baby. And I'm like, I mean, I always want hugs, though. And he's like, okay, then I'll come outside. Just let me know when you're here. I'm like, dude, I just said
I could see your window. What the fuck?
His room is on the right side of the house, even. There's no way I could see it from the road. Hi, baby. I know, your father's stupid.
He's also. I'm gonna have to show you the conversation that me and Mr. Bobbert had earlier because he was arguing with me about whether or not he could stay in here while I recorded.
But
Your
So-
boyfriend is not the sharpest crayon in the box. Okay. I am going to go ahead and get off of here because I do need to take my medicine and be a person tomorrow.
sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm
Oh.
saying bye to people.
Bye, people.
Bye, people.